10 senior South African Police Service officers were handcuffed and led away in coordinated dawn raids on December 19, 2025. Not junior constables caught taking small bribes at a roadblock, but seasoned colonels, majors, and captains who held real power over investigations, evidence, and dockets. These were the gatekeepers, the people who decided which cases moved forward and which quietly vanished. And every one of them, according to sources inside the investigation, operated within command structures that had been under scrutiny since a courageous provincial commissioner first broke ranks and warned the nation that something was profoundly wrong. The arrests spanned Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, executed with military precision by the Hawks Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation. Luxury apartments in Sandton, expensive homes in Durban North, townhouses in Pretoria, doors kicked in before the sun rose, safes opened, vehicles seized, digital devices confiscated. By the end of that morning, 10 high-ranking officers were in cells facing charges of corruption, fraud, money laundering, and defeating the ends of justice. The official statement was clinical and brief, but the implications are anything but. This operation did not come out of nowhere. It traces directly back to July 2025, when KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi held a press conference that shook the foundations of the police service. He revealed that a specialized task team investigating political killings had been suddenly disbanded from national level, allegedly because its work was getting too close to individuals who were never meant to be touched. At the time, many dismissed him as frustrated or ambitious. Yet 6 months later, the arrests suggest he was simply telling the truth too early. Mkhwanazi's disclosures forced President Cyril Ramaphosa to establish the Madlenga Commission, chaired by retired Constitutional Court Justice Mbayiseli Madlenga, to examine claims of political interference and deep-rooted corruption in KwaZulu-Natal's police and Hawks structures. While the commission took testimony, another investigation quietly gathered momentum, one that began with the June 2025 arrests of 7 top crime intelligence officials, including the division head and its chief financial officer. Those earlier arrests centered on the alleged looting of Secret Service accounts, money intended for covert operations, and informant networks supposedly diverted into private pockets, shell companies, and unexplained luxury purchases. When the unit responsible for gathering intelligence on the country's most dangerous threats is itself compromised, the entire justice system tilts dangerously. Cases stall, witnesses disappear, evidence evaporates, and suddenly political killings, illegal mining, and tender fraud become almost impossible to prosecute successfully. The December raids built on evidence uncovered from those June detainees. Seized hard drives, analyzed financial trails, and intercepted communications reportedly revealed a wider network of officers who allegedly sold their authority. One colonel in Johannesburg is said to have kept a ledger of cases deliberately buried for payment. A major in Durban allegedly received indirect payments through family members for tipping off suspects. A captain in a sensitive victim protection unit is accused of selling case details to defense attorneys and private investigators. What unites these officers is not just rank but position. They worked in organized crime, detective services, asset forfeiture, family violence, and crime intelligence support, units that control evidence chains, decide investigative priorities, and determine what reaches court. When people in those roles allegedly trade justice for cash, the public loses faith not only in police, but in the entire democratic order. Look at the lifestyles uncovered. Properties collectively worth tens of millions, luxury vehicles far beyond declared salaries, cash hidden in bedroom safes, all documented in asset forfeiture applications filed shortly after the arrests. These are not officers who won the lottery or inherited wealth. These are public servants whose income cannot legitimately explain their wealth, yet they occupied posts where they could make certain problems disappear for the right price. The pattern is chillingly consistent. Payments routed through consultancy fees to relatives, shell companies, or direct cash drops. In return, investigations into illegal mining syndicates slowed, tender fraud probes hit dead ends, sensitive dockets were misfiled. And in KwaZulu-Natal, where political assassinations have claimed dozens of councillors and activists, cases that once showed promise suddenly lost momentum. How many unsolved political murders, you might ask yourself, were quietly sabotaged from within. How many families still waiting for justice have been denied it not by clever criminals, but by officers who chose profit over duty? The Hawks statement warned that further arrests are not ruled out. That single line carries enormous weight. It suggests the investigation is still expanding, that more names are emerging from seized communications and cooperating witnesses. Networks like these rarely end with 10 or 17 people. They branch across provinces, units, and sometimes into political protection circles. Leadership accountability hangs over everything. Ministers have defended past restructuring decisions, insisting they were administrative, not obstructive. Yet when a proven task team is dismantled and high-ranking officers are later arrested for allegedly shielding criminals, questions about political oversight become unavoidable. Did anyone at national level know? Did anyone look away? The Madlenga Commission continues its work into 2026, hearing testimony about conflicting orders, botched operations, and possible cartel infiltration of police structures. Each session chips away at the veneer of reform, revealing how deeply private interests have embedded themselves in public institutions. Civil society organizations demand more than arrests. They call for independent oversight of crime intelligence funds, protected whistleblower channels, and lifestyle audits for all senior officers. Without structural change, today's detainees simply create vacancies for tomorrow's corrupt successors. Ordinary South Africans feel the consequences most acutely. Communities terrorized by unchecked syndicates, taxpayers funding a service that sometimes protects criminals better than citizens, voters wondering whether elections in violent areas are truly free when assassins operate with apparent impunity. The 10 officers taken into custody just before Christmas 2025 represent more than individual greed. They symbolize a system that has tolerated, perhaps even enabled, the merger of law enforcement with criminal interest. As 2026 begins, the investigations continue. But so do the threats. New political killings reported, syndicates operating openly, dockets still vulnerable to interference. The unease remains heavy. Arrests expose rot, yet the tree itself stands. How much more must be cut away before the public can believe justice is truly blind, not simply paid to look the other way? What stays with you most? The courage of the initial whistleblower, the lavish lifestyles built on alleged betrayal, or the knowledge that further arrests may still come? The foundations of accountability feel shaken, and whether they hold now depends on more than promises.